Are we on? Yeah. Good morning, and thank you everybody for joining on a Saturday again. And we appreciate your enthusiasm, your efforts to join us and support us in TEFL Kuwait Interdisciplinary and Multidisciplinary Conference. Today we start with our esteemed speaker, Dr. Thanassis Rikakis, and let me introduce, first of all, let me thank Dr. Rikakis for joining us. Just before I introduce him formally to you, I want to say that this whole conference idea came from him, actually, to be very honest. I met him in 2019 in a conference at UCL London, that's University College London in London. And I heard him talk about something which is close to multidisciplinary and interdisciplinary approach towards education. And I was really impressed by what he was talking at that point, but I didn't completely understand. With time, as I started teaching dual majors, different majors and disciplines, I started realizing that education cannot be compartmentalized. It has to be seen as an integrated approach. And that is what we are trying to present to this conference. And Dr. Rikakis's talk today is Multilayer Reflective Learning for the 21st Century. Let me quickly introduce him to you. Dr. Thanassis Rikakis is the second dean of the USC Iovine and Young Academy for Arts, Technology, and the Business of Innovation. The Iovine Young Academy's mission is to empower a diverse generation of leaders, innovators, and entrepreneurs through an integrated learning framework that cultivates the innate human abilities for complex, unbridled creativity. Dr. Thanassis is also a professor at the Iovine Young Academy and a courtesy professor of bioengineering at the USC Viterbi School of Engineering. He co-leads the USC Interactive Neurohabilitation Lab. His research spans system design, engineering, and arts with a special focus on interactive neurohabilitation, adaptive learning, experiential media, and cyber-human intelligence. Before joining the Academy, Dr. Thanassis served as the founding director of the Calhoun Honors Discovery Program and director of the Calhoun Center for Higher Education Innovation. These initiatives focus on adaptive transdisciplinary and trans-sector lifelong learning. From 2015 and 2017, Dr. Thanassis has served as executive vice president and provost at Virginia Tech. He led the development of transdisciplinary discovery communities, destination areas, and a new resource model, and co-led plans for the expansion of the Virginia Tech Health Sciences campus in, I don't know how to say this word, it's Roanoke, and for cross-sector.
Yes, that's right. Very good.
Cross-sector Virginia Tech initiatives in Northern Virginia. From 2012 to 2015, he served as vice provost for design, arts, and technology at Carnegie Mellon University, where he founded the Integrative Design, Arts, and Technology Network. He has also served as founding director of the School of Arts, Media and Engineering at Arizona State University, and Associate Director for Research and Development of the Computer Music Center at Columbia University. He has led gift efforts from philanthropy and industry totaling more than 75,000, oh my God, this is almost 75 million. He has been, what does PI stand for, Dr. Rikakis?
Principal investigator on it.
Okay. So PI or co-PI in research grants from NSF, NIH, NEA, and industry totaling over, again, $16 million. He has authorized 45 publications spanning computing, engineering, health, education, design, and the arts. He has composed 30 original music compositions, performed internationally, and he remains an active teacher of undergraduate and graduate courses and research supervisor of graduate students. Now you understand why we are doing this interdisciplinary multidisciplinary approach in this conference. So you can see he is like a multitasker. He has a very diverse background. Welcome to our conference, Dr. Rikakis. We are so honored to have you here, and I'm so happy that I could invite you. I wish you could join us personally, and inshallah, this is going to happen in the future very soon.
Rana,
The floor is all
thank you
yours.
very much. Thank you to all the organizers of the conference. I'm sorry I couldn't be there. We're in the midst of interview weekend for our students here in California. So it was very hard for me to miss this, but I'm excited to have the opportunity to even join remotely. And I apologize for the delay. Technology never really works fully, right? So I was in a link that was hanging somewhere in the ether, but we figured it out. So here we are. And I know that you good folks have been discussing yesterday, and today you'll be discussing more about complex meaning making that emerges at the intersection of language, education, technology, and business. And I want to propose to you folks this morning for the next half hour or so that ability for complex meaning making emerges from multi-layer reflective learning. And I want to give you an example of that type of learning as we practice it at the Iovine and Young Academy at the University of Southern California. I have prepared this presentation together with my colleague, Doug Thomas, who's asleep right now because he's late over here, but he sends his best. And just a quick introduction to our academy. It was founded in 2013 by a major gift from Jimmy Iovine and Dr. Dre Young. So let's talk a little bit about multi-layer reflective learning. And let's start with a very simple but important, I believe, question. What if the current discipline-based education system is failing to leverage key innate human abilities? And what if these are exactly the kind of abilities we need as a society to manage and advance the complexity of our lives? For example, the kind of abilities we need to engage the complex meaning emerging at the intersections of language, education, technology, and business. So what are these unique human abilities, and what kind of learning frameworks do we need to develop them? People learn and develop, and many of you are educators, so you know this, and you know this nice gentleman on this picture, which is John Dewey. So people learn and develop through embodied engagement of the full scope of their experiences. We use deduction to move from the integrative experiences to the discernment of the components of that experience. And then we use induction to leverage the detailed understanding of the components to inform our understanding of the whole experience again. Through iterative cycles of deduction and induction across multiple experiences, we develop the ability for reflective thinking, and we connect individual experiences into an adaptive, aggregate understanding of the world. As early as 1901, in How We Think, John Dewey clearly states that the integrative goal of learning is to develop a person while also allowing this person to acquire specific knowledge. Dewey says if we separate domain-specific knowledge from the integrative human experience and specify only one learning path for everyone, we take away the knowledge search process that trains the full scope of the human abilities. Now, to handle the real-time complexity of our experience, we rely on combinations of tacit, implicit, and explicit knowledge. If, for example, you try to learn to swim or try to learn to do surgery using just explicit knowledge, the results will not be very good, right? So the interactions of different types of knowledge with different experiences advance a layered and nuanced understanding of the world that promotes and relies on reflective thinking, exactly like Dewey was talking about. For example, Michael Polanyi suggests that domain-specific knowledge of statistics can be used to understand statistical phenomena such as an unbiased coin, a coin that produces an equal number of heads and tails in aggregate, right? However, if the personal experience of someone watching a coin being flipped produces 4 straight heads, then that personal experience is going to nuance the statistical understanding of the unbiased coin. In the process, the learner develops an abstract understanding of quantification that is informed both by their experience and also the domain-specific knowledge and they can begin to integrate the two into a complex understanding of the world. The reflection and meaning-making abilities of the learner grow when the learner engages multiple perspectives, right? However, these abilities are weakened when the learner is prescribed one exclusive and definite learning path to one exclusive, definite answer. So, although we understand the limitations of disciplinary education, it is still dominant. Why is this? What I want to suggest is exactly because the complexity of the world makes us uncomfortable, we find comfort in a disciplinary system that aims to explain the world in a rational, explicit, and replicable manner. In falling in love with the rationalism of disciplinary education, we forget that disciplinarity can only explain bounded and homogeneous spaces of knowledge. Disciplinary education cannot explain how we combine these different types of knowledge to create meaning. However, our need for rationalization has driven us to accept the limited disciplinary definitions of knowledge as global definitions of knowledge. For example, you heard yesterday from Bill Coe how the traditional definition of literacy is so limited compared to the multimodal meaning-making that is prevalent in today's interconnected society. Similarly, the step-by-step, fixed path, symbolic math curriculum being taught at schools all over the world is now assumed to express all of human quantitative ability, even though we know that expert quantitative ability is also gained through statistical and experiential pathways. What do I mean by this? Let's look at this pass here by LeBron James, who now plays in LA, not in Miami.
Hondo looking. Stolen by James. Lillard racing down the other end of the floor for the finish. Timeout Boston. The Heat defense does it again.
Now, anyone that can compute this pass has the tacit knowledge to also compute the differential equation involved in pursuit curves that you're seeing on the right. And actually, the computation on the left is harder than the symbolic computation on the right. LeBron James needs to worry about the defense and needs to get the ball in the right place for Dwayne Wade to score, right? So he needs to compute the pursuit curve and he needs to compute how that relates to his action. He also needs to use his experience to compute the probabilities of what the other 9 players on the court will do. And he needs to use a number of logical procedures to combine these probabilistic and deterministic computations and make a decision in split seconds. Oops. So, symbolic math does not represent the totality of human computation abilities. As Dewey and Polanyi and Herbert Simon have pointed out close to 80 years ago, computation is a domain general, abstract ability of human beings that is informed, of course, by the practice of different domain-specific instantiations of computation. Abstract computation transfers knowledge across different specific domains and in turn supports the further development of expertise within the domains. Neurophysiology research, such as work done by Iroise de Montel and many other colleagues, has by now confirmed, beyond any doubt, the role of domain general abstractions in connecting different instances of domain-specific knowledge across different human experiences and thus facilitating learning and meaning-making. As Kimberly Crenshaw points out in the 1980s, meaning emerges at the intersection of multiple domain-specific and domain-general factors of human experience. The common mathematical definition of intersection is a subset of elements that is common across different dimensions. However, in multi-layered learning and meaning-making, the commonality of the elements is one level up within the new identity, the new meaning that emerges from an intersection. So that's a very, again, interesting idea. We're now beginning to see how multi-layered learning allows humans to construct, deconstruct, and reconstruct meaning and in the process develop reflective thinking capabilities that John Dewey was talking about, right? If indeed now multiple types of human experience emerge from variable intersections of domain general and domain specific knowledge, then it follows that multi-layered learning is probabilistic and iterative. We test for data fit at multiple layers in parallel, thus making informed decisions in uncertainty. With every iteration, with every decision, our priors get more informed and the differentiation of meaning-based posteriors improves. In fact, J.B. Tannenbaum from MIT has proposed that we can represent multi-layer learning through a hierarchical Bayesian model. It is important to note that probabilistic multi-layer learning does not aim to produce one right answer and to exclude everything else, right? Probabilistic multi-layer learning simply updates the probabilities of different interpretations of combinations of elements. The multidimensionality of the experience remains intact and invites multiple perspectives with attached probabilities. This process promotes reflective learning, an understanding of how and why we act in different situations. And the maturation of the reflective learning process is equally important as the decision outcome. Although disciplinary education has advanced a narrative of expertise being primarily associated with domain-specific knowledge, some of the most effective practitioners of complex tasks embed domain-specific expertise within reflective practice, as shown by research by Donald Schoen, Claire Sparrow, and many others. These reflective practitioners leverage the innate human abilities for multi-layer processing to connect their specialized domain-specific insights to the many other dimensions involved in context-aware planning of buildings, holistic diagnosis through team-based medicine, or conflicting human intentions in legal settings. Reflective practitioners, of course, cannot be experts or even have working knowledge in all areas involved in each new complex challenge they face, right? However, they do have the ability to use abstract thinking to transfer knowledge from their existing experiences to areas close and far from that experience. They can also plan and take collaborative actions that can further elucidate the intersections with other areas and increase the collective understanding of the challenge. So, lots of theory. Let's make this fun. Let's now summarize multi-layer integrative learning using the simple example of cooking. Cooking is clearly based on innate human abilities since every one of us learns to cook, at least at some basic level, right? Great. To cook, you need to understand your ingredients well, and you need to understand how the ingredients intersect to create satisfying dishes. As you grow through different cooking experiences, you gradually develop generalizable skills like chopping and frying that can hold across all your cooking experiences. Please note that what emerges from the interactions of your skills and ingredients is a new integrative outcome with its own identity. For example, we understand pancakes as pancakes, not as mixes of butter, milk, eggs, and flour, even though we know that those ingredients are there, right? This integrative outcome shapes how you handle the ingredients and how you adapt your skills. If you are sauteing vegetables to make moussaka, you will do it differently than you are sauteing vegetables to make a quiche. Cooking is an integrative process of meaning making. We learn about ingredients and cooking skills by also learning the integrative cooking goal, and we learn to transfer knowledge across cooking experiences. And to get ahead of any of my friends that may be working in professional kitchens, I am talking here about individuals developing as people while learning to cook. The development of the person, the process, is the overarching goal rather than producing amazing dishes for a restaurant, right? So there we go. That is multi-layered learning. Friends, disciplinary education has us all fooled. We, of course, all accept that if we are to understand our world well and learn how to contribute meaningful human artifacts to this world, we need to get a deep understanding and mastery of the different domain-specific knowledge involved in the world. We all accept that. We need a solid understanding of the ingredients. But If you teach the disciplines separate from the integrative meaning making, then the meaning shifts to the disciplines and the unique human abilities for integration are lost. And the results are, in one word, tragic. For example, we all know that developing technologies separate from the socioeconomic context they influence creates myriads of unintended consequences, but we cannot stop ourselves from doing it and doing it again. For example, everybody's talking about the amazing results of the ChatGPT algorithms. The amazing results of the ChatGPT algorithms could not exist without the amazing socio-cultural knowledge base that trained the algorithm. And many of you have been involved in creating that amazing knowledge base. We cultivate people, you cultivate people to be sensitive receivers of diverse cultural inputs so they can learn the specifics and the generals of a culture and recompile them into new creative contributions that advance culture further and enhance the human condition. We don't want algorithms that borrow from the human experience and put people who created that experience out of work, right? We teach people how to borrow so they can make the people that train them better, not put them out of work, all right? Algorithms that borrow without giving back to the people that train them lead to a dystopian and transactional society rather than an aspirational society. We want algorithms to be part of integrative socio-cultural and socio-economic solutions that augment the human intelligence. We don't want artificial intelligence. We want augmented human intelligence. And I'm not just saying this, right? Let us remember that successful complex activities like teaching, like you good folks do, or the practice of medicine is not a transaction of knowledge. Nobody wants to go have a computer take a picture of their body and tell them what is wrong with them. What we all want is a good doctor who knows how to leverage her relation with the patient to understand the health problem, of course, the potential things that could be causing the health problem, and detect the potential ways out of the problem, and to communicate all this successfully to the patient. It is uniquely human to be able to manage the multiple whys together with the hows and the whats and act upon that integrated understanding. If we cultivate integrative learners, they cannot be replaced by automation technologies because they do different things, right? These learners will also develop technologies that elevate the human abilities for integrative meaning making that you all been discussing the past 2 days. It is that connection between the integrative, the general, and the specific that serves as the backbone in what we define at the Academy as reflective learning. Beginning with the integrative experience as the impetus for reflective learning, we can develop a new form of expertise that both differs from traditional notions of disciplinary thinking, while at the same time provides a basis for a more generalized form of knowing as well. So how do we do it? Reflective learning at the Iovine and Young Academy is motivated by integrative innovations that require the co-design of technology, design, and business elements. These innovations range from physical computing for health and wellness, to extended reality for advanced manufacturing, design strategy for sustainability, and Web3 business models. We teach the integrative innovation together with the domain-specific elements involved in the innovation, and together with the co-design methodologies that can integrate these different elements into one meaningful experience. Many of these innovations require students to gain just-in-time, domain-specific knowledge in diverse areas such as health sciences or social sciences. By taking students through many different types of innovations, we also help them develop their generalizable skills, such as abstract thinking and creativity. So what does this look like every day for the students? Challenge-based learning experiences are at the core of what we do. Each semester of their studies, students develop projects in response to complex challenges facing individuals, communities, organizations, and society at large. These experiences are realized in collaboration with an expansive list of industry and community partners. All chosen challenges are high dimensional, have no definite or obvious problem statement, and no unique solutions. The engagement of the challenges requires the co-design of diverse elements of knowledge. These challenge-based learning experiences motivate the students to seek domain-specific knowledge that they need in order to better engage these challenges. While realizing, therefore, challenge-based learning experiences, students are also attending academic courses that teach domain-specific fundamentals in technology, business, and design, and connect these fundamentals to complex challenges. For example, disruptive innovation is a course that teaches business fundamentals in the context of historical paradigms of business innovation. The students also select from a diverse list of academy electives that develop intersection expertise. These courses showcase co-design methodologies across technologies, business, and design for areas where our school is a national leader. For example, design strategy, extended reality, physical computing, or product innovation. By moving across many different challenges, different specifics, and different co-design processes, students develop domain general skills such as abstraction that allow them to transfer knowledge across different contexts. The Academy Learning Framework is resonating with the next generation. We are attracting exceptional students from around the globe, young creatives who intuitively understand that standardized knowledge, siloed expertise, and clean right-wrong solutions only apply to neat problems. The complexity, high dimensionality, and intersectionality of today's human experience requires the integration of diverse skills. Tackling complex challenges and developing integrative knowledge necessitates collaboration in diverse teams. All Academy students realize the majority of the learning during their first 2 years with their incoming cohort, which has been structured to contain, of course, diverse skills and experiences. As they mature the individual creative agencies, students begin to form their own problem spaces, their own challenges, and corresponding teams and corresponding ventures. For the last 2 years, students develop their own ventures, their own teams, they engage the world. And by doing that, they develop their own learning paths and they develop their own collaborations. And because everybody takes a different path, we believe that it is that difference that makes the difference in terms of helping students to learn and develop innovation capacity. And the Academy Learning Framework is clearly working. We are placing graduates in project leadership and strategy positions right out of school with top companies. We have a ratio of 1 successfully commercialized student startup per 12 graduates, which is a better ratio than Stanford, for example. And the CEOs of some of the most innovative companies, such as Ivan Spiegel or Daniel Ek, are publicly supporting the Academy as the school for intersection, creativity, and innovation. And we're now beginning to scale our learning framework. For example, we have partnered with the LA Unified School District and the Iovine and Young Foundation to develop the Iovine and Young Center, which is a high school in Larimer, near Crenshaw, and is using the Academy Learning Framework, not only, of course, to develop multi-layer learning, but to also be more inclusive. And I want to close with this thought. If indeed we start the learning at the human experience, if we start the learning with integrative experiences and the ability of people to extract meaning from those experiences, those are innate abilities. Everybody has them. Everybody has connected diverse knowledge and has extracted meaning out of it by doing multi-layer approaches. If that's where we start, if that's what excellence looks like, and everybody, of course, is different, and we leverage this to then teach them language, to teach them business, to teach them technology, to teach them calculus, we're being more inclusive. And that is one of our major aspirations. I thank you for your time. And if we have time, I know we started late, I'll take a few questions.
Sorry. Anyone has any questions? The questions could be in the chat. Can you open the chat, please?
Absolutely, happy to do so. So I haven't seen any questions yet, Rana.
Anyone has any questions regarding Dr. Rikakis? Yes.
This doesn't necessarily have to do with anything you've just said, but just a general question on what are some of your predictions for the classrooms of tomorrow based on, you know, your location, your context, and your field of expertise?
Well, it's a great question, right? And I think we can look at this at two levels, right? If indeed we begin to shift away from disciplinary education and having to teach everybody the same thing, right? The idea of creating learning environments that are hands-on, right? That are applied, that are hands-on, and beginning to translate knowledge in the field, whether people are working in the fields, people are building something, they're making something, developing a game. If we begin to start with applied knowledge, people engaging live and translating that into domain-specific knowledge, I think we're going to see the world becoming the classroom. And that's going to become a key part of education, right? How do you help translate meaningful experiences in the wild to structure domain-specific knowledge? And now you can, of course, begin to do a lot of that translation, right? If you have the physical mentored experience in person, in the physical world, and you need mentors to do this, you can do the translation online, right? So some of the more, translation in domain-specific knowledge, you can just do more online. So I would think that we're going to see a reduction of lectures and everybody having to learn the same thing. We're going to see an increase in hands-on learning in the wild, mentored by people who understand how to mentor experiences. And then we're going to see adaptive and machine learning supported approaches to translating that into domain-specific knowledge.
Yes, Alison.
Thank you very much indeed, Dr. Rikakis. And I'm wondering, we are speaking to you from Kuwait, and we're in the Middle East, and you're in the US, and you're working mostly with colleagues in that area, perhaps. Are you aware of any educational projects in the Middle East that are operating along these lines? I would like to mention that we do have one, which they call it fusion, where they fuse all kinds of subjects and skills. The teachers work together, teachers of various subjects, whether it's PE, math, science, Latin, music. They work together and they engage the children in projects that involve all these subjects. And it's very joyful. And it's called International School of Kuwait. And hopefully one day you'll hear about it. Are you aware of any other educational projects in the Middle East?
So it's a great question. And I'm going to tell you that's a great question because my answer is no, I'm not. And I think part of what you're pointing to, right, is those of us who are trying to actually come up with these fused experiences, integrative experiences, start to learning with the integrative experience and then go to the specifics. We're doing in ourselves and we don't know each other, right? It can't be that we're, right? The Iovine Young Academy are the only people who thought about this. There are many smart people in the Middle East and in Asia and in Latin America who are doing this. We have a network this, right? So there is definitely a need, and events like what you good folks are hosting today allow us to learn more about these things because we need to learn from each other, right? And I know there's a lot of this going on, and I really welcome a conversation. How do we connect more, and how do we become aware of these things in different cultures, right? Because it's not going to be the same, right? The way you do it in Kuwait is going to be different than they do it in Poland. It's going to be different than we do it in California. So there is a need for informing across pollination across these types of integrative learning efforts. And I really appreciate your question, and I welcome efforts in that direction. We all need it.
The questions? Okay.
And somebody put the name on the chat, so now I know it. I'm gonna grab the chat and I'm actually gonna go look it up.
Hands up, hand on. Okay.
Let them answer, no problem. Can you, you have to allow them to. Let me do it. No, just everybody will do it. Okay, now all of you mute yourself. Sorry, we had to mute yourself because
Yes, hello.
sometimes there are
All right, hello,
problems.
hello.
Yes,
Hello.
go ahead, please. Go ahead.
Yes,
Ask.
sir. Thank you very much for your for this talented prelim presentation. Actually, I'd like to ask you about the cycle of learning, experience, knowledge. So here, knowledge, as you know, is a attainment information and organized to be knowledge. When we organize information, it becomes a knowledge. And when we organize the knowledge, it's going to be a wisdom or a wise. And experience is something that is gained from a practice or practical experience in life. So here in the learning, so do you think that in reflective learning, we concentrate on learning as a behaviorist theory, that is say that the change of behavior, or learning is a constructive of knowledge? Another question, what is the role of procedure knowledge and what is called procedure knowledge and declarative knowledge in the process of reflective learning? Thank you very much.
They're great questions. Wow. Okay, I'll try my best here because they're very heavy questions, but I think there are a couple of great points in what you said. I think the right approach to reflective learning is the process and product have to come together, right? And the idea, and I think a lot of the thinkers and researchers that I mentioned, their point is process and product come together. We focus as much on the procedural development of the learner, right? Their reflective learning abilities, understanding how and why they act, but we also have an outcome. So when we're talking about earlier, let's have applied experiences that we start with, trying to engage a challenge, trying to build something. And that also makes the learning, it gives them something tangible for the learning to work around, right? And if we can figure a way out to do this, right, in an integrative manner, I think we all win, right? We avoid the binaries, which also, of course, addresses your other very nice point, right? Declarative knowledge. Of course, part of the outcome should be declarative knowledge, right? Reflective learning process, the ability of the learner to reflect, that doesn't mean they cannot get to domain-specific declarative knowledge. They will get there in their own way. They will relate that path to what they're trying to do, but they will get there, right? So reflective learning is a higher ability. It can get to applied outcomes. It can get to task specialization. It can get to declarative knowledge. Finally, knowledge organization. Yes, I think it's a knowledge organization, but as I said, I think it's a probabilistic model of organizing knowledge, not a development. Thank you for your questions. They were great. And
Let's just. Sorry.
So you can unmute yourself, Dr. Rikakis.
I'm unmuted.
Yeah. You can because you co-host.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I didn't realize what the feedback was, but thank you, Rana.
That was something.
We're just talking about learning to live in complexity with unexpected things. So that's what we're doing. There you go. We're practicing life. Okay.
Okay, just raise your hand in the virtual attendees, please. If you have a question, we will unmute you because there was a lot of disturbance online. Okay, we have a question from the physical audience. Yes, Mr. Albert.
Thank you, Mr. Rikakis. How can special needs students benefit from multi-layer reflective learning? Is there any special model that can help them?
No, I love the question, right? I love the question. Unfortunately, it's not my area of expertise, and I am not going to attempt to answer it. I will make a hypothesis here, of course, right? That the idea of reflective learning is that it assumes that everybody is going to develop their own process, right? So it's and so the idea here is it's not a given. Right, we know where we're going and we know how we're going to get there. So the idea of beginning to actually allow students with special needs to develop their own processes that make sense to them and pursue their own goals, their own paths. Hopefully, and this is a hypothesis because I don't know the space. Hopefully, will begin to reveal to us how to structure this. Right. So if you get the learner involved, if you get the learner activated, they begin to reveal what engages them. Right, and what is meaningful to them, right? Out of them, then we begin to structure the next steps, right? But this idea of letting people who have different needs, they have different approaches to reveal to us what's meaningful to them, I think it's a great starting point.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. It's a great question.
I'm trying to look at if there are any questions in the virtual chat.
Yeah, there was one on students with special needs also on the chat. It's a great question, Rana, and I wish I had a better answer, but it's a great question.
No, I think this is good. Anyone else has any questions? Okay, I think we are good. Thank you so much, Dr. Rikakis, for joining us, and we really look forward to entertaining you here in Kuwait. This is our heartfelt wish, and we really wanted you to come here. I know you were busy somewhere in the UK on a conference. Right now you're in UK, isn't it?
No, things changed, Ran. I'm actually in LA because we're doing our interview weekend. So I've been doing student interviews till about 2 hours ago, and I'm going to start tomorrow at 8 in the morning. So,
okay.
But I would love to visit. There's lots to learn across cultures. I thank you for the opportunity. Congratulate you on the conference. And thank you to everyone for your attention. Hopefully next time we'll be there in person. Thank you again.
Exactly. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. It's a great question.
I'm trying to look at if there are any questions in the virtual chat.
Yeah, there was one on students with special needs also on the chat. It's a great question, Rana, and I wish I had a better answer, but it's a great question.
No, I think this is good. Anyone else has any questions? Okay, I think we are good. Thank you so much, Dr. Rikakis, for joining us, and we really look forward to entertaining you here in Kuwait. This is our heartfelt wish, and we really wanted you to come here. I know you were busy somewhere in the UK on a conference. Right now you're in UK, isn't it?
No, things changed, Ran. I'm actually in LA because we're doing our interview weekend. So I've been doing student interviews till about 2 hours ago, and I'm going to start tomorrow at 8 in the morning. So,
okay.
But I would love to visit. There's lots to learn across cultures. I thank you for the opportunity. Congratulate you on the conference, and thank you to everyone for your attention. Hopefully next time we'll be there in person. Thank you again.
Exactly. Thank you so much.